Senator Cierpiot.
Here.
Bernsketter. Henderson.
Here.
Carter. Fitzwater. Gregory.
Here.
May. McCreary. Mosley.
Where's McCreary?
She's right here.
We don't have a four. Four? Do we have one?
That's right.
We just need Tracy to come back. Tracy to come back. Okay, thank you. There she is. There she is. She's out there. Okay, we have a quorum now. Between us and the hallway, we have a quorum. So we have a number of bills to hear today. We're going to start with Senate Bill 914.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Curtis Gregory, 21st District. I think we're on year 4 of this great septic tank regulation legislation. There's some names we call it that I probably can't say on record, but it's a bill we've worked on. It's a bill that has generally we've got it consent out of the House before. It's gone through this committee before last year, and unanimous consent and support. The crux of this bill is dealing with septic lines and systems. I've learned that actually falls on the county health director out in rural counties, which was news to me when I first learned that one. But right now they use something called percolation testing to determine if the septic field can handle what's going to be coming out of that septic tank or whether it's going to be able to go into the soil. Come to find out, those percolation tests aren't necessarily reliable, but by state statute currently you must do a percolation test, and then more than likely they're going to say, but we need to go ahead and do a soil morphology test. Basically taking a soil sample is going to tell you what the soil type is and what the water holding capacity of that soil is and how big your field will need to be. So the crux of this legislation are making the soil morphology test the standard in determining septic fields going forward for putting in septic systems in single residence households out in the country. Great bill.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
And then,
is this-
unfortunately, I will have to run back up for gubernatorial appointments.
I
So
appreciate
thank you
that.
for
This
squeezing
won't
me
take
at the
long.
beginning.
I just want to make sure this language is exactly what we had last year.
To my knowledge, we think so. And probably the same as the year before that and the year before that.
Okay, and I believe we didn't
We-
pass
there-
it out last year. So
Yep,
it
there's,
should be
to my
easy.
knowledge, there's been no changes. It's, the way I've told some people about this legislation is it's one of those bills that everyone's like, yep, that sounds good, we need to do it, but it's never been that rise of importance. And with titling and sewage regulation, it's kind of hard to find amendment areas to try and get it done.
Well, next year with the new chairman of this committee, you might have a lot more success.
Okay,
So we'll see how
well,
it goes.
we'll see how the new pro tem feels, maybe about that, and we'll move on from there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Senator Carter.
Senator, I appreciate, I know time's limited, but I'd like to understand this a little bit better because I know we're looking at trying to put in a septic system and it seems like the rules and regs are already there and some of the testing on site. So I would just like to kind of get up to speed on this and see how it differs, if you wouldn't mind, sometime off record.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
Senator May.
One quick question. Thank you. Is there any cost anticipation for?
I do believe there was something, it repeals certain provisions relating to fees for repair of on-site sewage, and then I feel like there was a minor fee increase for doing the training for it, but nothing out of the ordinary in terms of inflation and trying to move forward. Had a bill a couple of years ago that raised the fee on the egg inspection program that hadn't been touched since 1953. So just getting some of these inspection-based, fee-based programs up to the cost of covering what it actually is to implement it.
Okay. It's freeze.
How many people want to testify in favor of this bill? How many opposed? Okay, the first in favor, please come forward. Just make sure you fill out a witness form. Everybody should, and thank you. And just tell us who you are and start.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee chairman, committee members. Thank you for your time today. I am speaking on behalf of Missouri Small Flows Organization, which is a statewide association that works with on-site wastewater professionals who put in septic systems across the state of Missouri. We are in support of this bill. We are hoping to help phase out percolation tests across the state of Missouri. Because soil morphology does provide a better way to get the data we need to recommend the correct type of wastewater treatment system for homeowners across the state. Percolation tests can give you misguided results. If you do a percolation test in August, when it's hot and dry, the soil is going to perk very well. And then when we get to April, when it's really rainy, the percolation test will fail. And so we have to do a soil morphology report, which looks at all the characteristics of the soil, including the color, the drainage, and we can also determine how much more water the soil can take, which is what we're doing by putting an on-site wastewater treatment system out there. We're adding water to the soil, and we have to know how much more it can take. So soil morphologists are certified professionals by the Department of Health out there, and they help provide these reports for installers to correctly pick which type of system that will go out there. A lot of counties have already phased out percolation testing because soil morphology is much more comprehensive and provides a better report. This will also raise the professional bar for the state of Missouri as well, because a lot of states are already getting rid of percolation testing. The second part of this bill is to change permit fees. Currently, they are static, and they need to change so that the Department of Health can adjust fees to cover the cost. Currently, right now, they do not cover cost, and it will help the state also work with the contract counties to hire local staff to examine the permits. The State Department of Health is administering over 50 counties right now, and they can't keep up with the amount of permits that are coming in. And so if we can have local counties that can review the permits, go out for the pre-inspections, the post-inspection on the installation, that will speed up the process of those permit approvals, allow the installers to do their job, but then also allow the homeowners to get the systems they need, whether it's a new build or a remediated system where the system's failing and they absolutely need some help on getting this done. And that is most of the case for a lot of our installers. They're fixing failing systems that have been there for 70 years. So my organization is in support of this bill. We hope that you take this into consideration, and we thank Senator Gregory for pushing this every year. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, though. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Is this test done on site?
It is, yes.
And it's
So
immediate? You get immediate
the
results?
soil morphology, yes. So you have to dig a soil pit. You dig it at least 48 inches deep. And if you don't have bedrock before that point, which in some areas of Missouri you will. But then you look at the soil type and you're able to determine how much more water it can take and where you place the lateral lines. That's the big question.
Okay,
So
and you just do it when it's dry?
you can, most of the time, you don't want the soil wet. You can't dig when it's wet because it'll damage the soil, actually.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Any other questions?
yes.
Senator Carter?
Thank you. If you could just restate the organization one more time
Yes,
for us,
Missouri Small Flows Organization.
please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in favor, please come forward.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. My name is Eric Folks. I'm from Infiltrator Water Technologies. We're a company out of Connecticut that builds septic tanks, lateral line products, and so forth. We are a nationwide company. My history was I started as an installer of wastewater systems. I then went to the county as a regulator for about 10 years, and then I was the Missouri Department of Health's program manager for wastewater for almost 10 years previously. I'm new to this role as a manufacturer. I'm very much in favor of this bill. I helped put it together as far as talking to people. But what I want to say is not to regurgitate what she was talking about. First of all, percolation test. Just a little bit of information about it. They dig down to where your lateral lines go, and they say this is what the soil can do. Water moves down. So that's one thing where they're missing is they don't do a 48-inch deep trench so we can see what happens to water when it moves down. If I dig down 18 inches and I have bedrock at 22 inches, I would never know that with a perk test. And then we get water that we get to chew on instead of drink. And not just our house, but our neighbor's house, because our water table comes from a very large area. So I'm from the Lake of the Ozarks area, very small lots, and I like to make sure that each lot produces quality effluent, not just for the lake where we get a lot of income from, but again, I like to drink very clean water. It's much more expensive to treat wastewater after it's been contaminated than to keep it clean before it enters our mouth. So that's what I do want to say on that level. As far as the fees that come up with this, $90 was from 1996 when this was first imposed. You can imagine me as a person from this county right here having to drive to Clark County or Lewis County, northeast Missouri, for $90. That's renting a vehicle, my time, permitting the system, reviewing the system, coming back to this office, and a week later driving back for a final inspection. We lose money every day these permits go out the door, but that's what we have to do to protect public health. It's not about making money. We're just trying to protect. So if we can raise the fees to a fee that doesn't necessarily raise money but covers the cost, that's wonderful. And to piggyback on what Tammy said, local health departments have dropped their contract with DHSS because $90 is not paying their fees just to handle things locally. It is expensive. There is some time there. And so they've said, when you get your fees up, come back and talk to us again. And that's where I feel we're going to help Missourians, because when, as an installer, if I give a bid and it takes the state 60 to 90 days to get me a permit, my cost has gone up. There's no guarantee on material, which I had to then give to the homeowner, which costs them more money. So the fees are important, that we just keep them to where time should be, just to cover our costs. But more and above the fees, I get money is important. It's the protection of water that I am very passionate about with over 30 years of experience in this industry.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Questions
your
for
time.
this witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Next in favor, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Katie Gamble here on behalf of the Missouri Center for Public Health Excellence. So a group of your local public health departments want to go on record in support of the legislation, thank the senator for continuing his work on this issue, thank the experts that you got to hear from instead of just hearing from me and Sarah on this issue over and over again. And I don't have much to add except that I kind of like to think of it as cutting some red tape with the way the statute's currently written and having to do the percolation tests and then still having to do a soil morphology test. You know, we're helping individuals, making sure that they're just getting the tests that they need right up front instead of having to go through all these extra hoops. So,
Thank you. Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you, Senator. That will conclude the, sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, come on down.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C., AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate. There was a companion bill, I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago in the House involving the same issue. I opposed it there. I have to be opposing it today. Number one is I'm opposed to another fee, which relates to another tax on our citizens. Our citizens of Missouri being taxed 57% of all their income comes into their families, goes out in some form of a fee or a tax at the federal, state, county, local levels, including fees, whether you fish, hunt, a variety of different fees, drive a car. The percolation test, I think it should be a choice. I don't think we should be moving drastically from one of the tests to the other test. I think it should be a choice and left up to the homeowners. But I don't believe in additional fees and additional costs on our Missouri residents. For those reasons, I oppose the bill.
Thank you. Anybody, any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'll be slower this time. Anybody else like to appear in favor or against? Seeing none. Senator, would you like to say this?
Just quick closing comment. The form percolation or the percolation testing has been mentioned. Think of a percolation test as you've got a sponge in your kitchen. She mentioned in August, when that soil or sponge is dry, it's going to soak up a lot of water. But take that wet sponge and just squeeze it about halfway. If you do that test in March, and it's going to give you a completely different result. And the benefit of doing this is making sure that once you install that system, you know you're not going to have to go dig your yard back up with added cost 5-10 years down the road when it fails you. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I know you got to get out of here, but why not do both? Because the first test, test the soil's ability and the for long-term, capacity, whereas the percolation test the ability. Why not do both?
Because they're
they
finding
have
that
good advantages.
they're finding the percolation test isn't as accurate as the morphology. So as she referenced, you could do a percolation test in August. If you did one in August of this year, you're going to get 2 thumbs up because we were in a drought. It's going to work out just fine. It's going to take all the water it can take. But that's not going to necessarily be accurate. And so as what was happening is homeowners, whoever was doing the work, would do this percolation test, they'd pay for it, and then it's not accurate enough. And so then they'd come around and do the soil morphology test on the backside of it. As a second witness mentioned, you may be digging down 18 inches, not knowing there's rock at 24, and water doesn't necessarily like to go through rock. Whereas the morphology, you've got to go 48 inches. And that's going to obviously, hopefully, get you in a position to notice if there's any shallow rock that you may not pick up on the percolation test.
Okay. So the methodology, also tests the quality of the soil and all of that, and the percolation tests the water's ability and see how it goes deep. Okay. I'm still in favor of both, but okay.
Yeah. So when I think of, imagine they dig a hole and you dump 5 gallons of water in it, and you find how fast it goes down.
Yeah.
And I go back to that sponge reference. That's why it's so easy to talk about. When the soil is wet, that water is going to just sit there. But if it's dry, it's going to soak right up. If you've got clay, it might take longer to soak up. If you've got sand, it's going to go right straight down. And so referencing then that morphology, you're going to find out what it actually is, and we know scientifically what the water holding capacity of that soil is.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you. That will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 914. Next, we're going to have Senate Bill 917. Senator Berger. Senator Berger, proceed when you're ready.
Well, if I get my chair moved forwards. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Berger representing the 27th District of Southeast Missouri. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 917. I've presented this bill in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Hopefully this year is the year we can put a second coat on this bill. Is known as a paint recycling bill. It would require the paint industry to set up a system to collect and manage the end of life of leftover architectural paint. A representative organization would develop and submit a plan for the establishment of a post-consumer paint collection program to the Department of Natural Resources. The program must reduce the generation of post-consumer paint, promote the reuse and recycling of post-consumer paint, manage the post-consumer paint waste stream using environmentally sound management practices, establish a network of paint drop-off sites, educate consumers on the issue. Senate bill does not require consumers to recycle their used paint products, but simply allows for the option to recycle the paint if they so choose. Consumers would pay a small paint stewardship fee, which is added to the purchase of the paint at the time. After using the paint, drop leftover paint at one of the convenient drop-off sites at no charge. The paint is picked up from the drop-off site and transported to an authorized recycling reuse facility. I think it is important to note that instead of relying on state and local budgets, this system for collecting and managing leftover paint is supported by the paint stewardship fee applied to the purchase of the new paint. This bill solves an important, persistent problem with every household faces. I have paint, you have paint, we don't want to throw it out, but we don't know what to do with it or can't bear to pay the cost. This solves all of that. All the paint you have today is grandfathered in, so all those reasons to keep holding onto that paint are resolved. This is a tried and tested program that is running solidly in 12 states already. Senate Bill 917 is the principle of product stewardship in action, bringing together all parties involved in this design, production, sale, and use of a product to minimize the environmental impact across a product's life cycle. One thing to kind of add to this, I'm retired from a cement plant, and when I worked there in the early 80s and up into 2000s, we burned 25 ton of coal every hour of every day. Today, we burn 2 or 3 ton of coal every hour of every day, and the rest of it is we're burning 1.2 or 1.3 million pounds per day of waste fuels. And those fuels are derived from paint recyclings, safety clean runoffs, anything you can think of, Chrysler paint overspray. And they say there's enough alternate fuels in California to run our plant for 100 years. And this is something that's what we could just burn up and not go in our streams. And if you think about the fire hazard in your basements, that where I go downstairs before I come up here, and I think I have 12 or 13 gallon of paint. And every time my wife decides, we paint a certain color, and it's going to last forever, and forever is about 3 years. Then we get some more leftover paint. But I think it's something that cement plants are burning this stuff up. I think it's something that we need to do. Like I said, we've passed it unanimously out of committees in the House and Senate every year, and hopefully we can this year, but I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is the exact language we had last year, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Senator Bernstein?
You mentioned all the years you failed to get this done. Did you ever think it might be you?
I had that thought briefly, but I knew it wasn't.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none. How many people want to testify in favor of this bill? How many in opposition? Okay, the first one in favor, please come forward. Bring your witness form and let us know who you are.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Berger, thank you for your sponsorship of this bill, pushing that rock up this hill. Much appreciated. And good for taking a joke. You're a good man for taking a joke. My name is Jeremy Jones.
What a joke.
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. My name is Jeremy Jones. I represent the coatings industry, American Coatings Association. And before that, I was a program manager for this paint program in other states, including Minnesota. And so I'm here to advocate on behalf of this bill, just knowing, as Senator Berger said, it's a tried and true program that's operating successfully. And what's changed maybe since the last time we talked is there actually is a program that just started in December in the state of Illinois. So folks had questions about how it was going to work out, and I can report happily that 330 locations have volunteered to become part of this program in the state of Illinois. I believe in the East Metro area, just on the other side of the river from St. Louis, over 20 stores have chosen to participate. Most of those are local Ace Hardwares. And I think the big thing, the report here from Missouri, is that an organization called RP Lumber has 57 stores in Illinois. Every single one of their stores has chosen to participate statewide. And they featured on the front page of their website to welcome people in. They think it's good for business. And they have 20 stores here in Missouri, which I won't speak for them, but we feel pretty confident that they would be participating in this program. So the retail enthusiasm is there for this program. It's going to be, I think, a very popular program here in Missouri, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next in favor, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Richard Sheets with the Missouri Municipal League, and we would like to go on record in support of Senate Bill 917. A lot of our cities receive, requests from their citizens to collect the paint, and it's been a real difficult ability to collect these products and after they're being used and stored in the basements. And I think this would go a long way in removing some of those hazardous materials from our homes, and we wholeheartedly support this this bill. I'll try to answer any questions if I can.
So do cities that have a paint recycling program
Some do,
stop it once
some
they do?
try, but they're certain, so,
Well, my city does, Lee Summit does, but
Yeah,
do
and
they
lots of-
typically end them once these programs come on?
excuse me?
Will they end those programs once this program's
Well,
kicked
I don't
in?
think, I guess it depends on how this is implemented. They may, and if it's going to be recycled. A lot of cities I've seen where it's kind of hit and miss. They may conduct a recycling effort for a day, but then it's kind of short term. So this would be an ongoing type of process that would really assist and get rid of these paints.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Richard? Senator May.
What does this recycling consist of? So, we
Well,
turn
I
in
can't
this
answer that.
old.
I'm not a recycler. I couldn't tell you, from the
Okay.
paint industry how this is recycled. I mean, the sponsor talks about how they recycle it through using it as fuel, but
Okay.
I'm not an expert in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for coming
Thank you, sir.
forward.
Senator, one thing I wanted to say was there's only 5 collection sites, permanent, active collection sites in the state of Missouri. If you look at that map, now we as counties have one about every 3 years where we try to round up everything, but not everybody participates.
Okay. Next in favor, please come forward.
It's really far away and I don't have a good voice. Susan Henderson Moore, on behalf of the City of Columbia, we just want to go on record in favor. We feel like the bill is very complimentary to the city's recycling efforts with paint recycling.
Is that it? Any questions for? Thank you very much. Anybody else in favor? Should I say anything?
Chairman, committee members, I'm Pat Kelly with the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis. Just want to go on record in support of the bill. In a former life, I was an elected official in St. Louis County, and I can tell you with recycling, if you don't make it simple for people, they're not going to do it. We were one of the first communities to go to single stream recycling on paper, plastic, and bottles and so forth. And our drastically increased the amount of recycling we were collecting in the county. St. Louis County is one of the counties that has a paint recycling center, opened about 10 years ago, and it's overwhelmed with the amount of paint that it gets. So at certain times they actually have to close down because they don't have the storage before they can move it off-site. So we're in support of this bill. It'd be great for the state of Missouri, give our consumers more options instead of throwing it into their sewer systems at home. So be happy
Thank
to
you.
answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Anybody else in favor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Zach Pollock on behalf of the City of Lee Summit. Just want to go on record in support of the bill. You are correct, Mr. Chairman, that Lee Summit does have a program. I do not know if this were to pass and implemented, if they would get rid of their program and take this program instead, but they are very interested in this.
Yeah, you should ask them, and if they do, they should reduce their sales tax by like just a tad.
I think you might have more pull than I would, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next witness in favor, please. Are you against? Okay.
Sure, put this chair. Good afternoon, Steve Allers with the Missouri Association of Counties in support of the legislation for many of the reasons presented. We also think that providing an incentive to properly dispose of this paint may result in some cost savings to the counties where people may just drive down a county road and decide just to illegally dump this stuff out. And gives us a good place to take care of dealing with the cleanup and disposing of it properly.
Okay, thank you. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Arnie C. AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate again. This is a great program. It's diversion from our state landfills. It's recycling used for heat and other type recycling efforts. It's great for the environment. However, after reading the fiscal note and the bill, the fee is in there, but there's no amount of fee that's set. And so that's concerning, puts a red flag for me. I'd like to, if somebody knows by chance what the exact fee, or if you could set a maximum fee to be transparent and open with our state. Otherwise, I support the program for SB 917.
For this witness? Seeing none, thank you, Arnie.
Thank you.
Anybody else in favor? Anybody in opposition? Senator, can I ask you one question? You mentioned that this is used for fuel in a lot of places. I'm assuming you're talking about oil base?
Yes.
And so
anything that-
latex they just combine and sell as gray?
The latex paint would just be mixed in with it. They'll create a BTU value. That's a minimum that has to be, that we burn.
Oh, really?
ourselves.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
they mix it with the oil base.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Do you have any comment on this fee schedule? Yeah, go ahead.
We have that.
Okay.
I have a brochure, and I think it's also on the material that's been presented to the committee that describes the fee range. It's based on the container size. Small containers range from 30 to 65 cents. Your typical gallons between 65 and $1.45. And then for the big contractor size gallons, containers, 5 gallons, they're $1.50 to $2.75.
Okay, that's on the sale when you sell it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and just wanted to add, 84% of the paint is recycled into new paint. The latex paint.
The
So
latex, okay.
that's the sort of the latest and greatest data. And then in that rest of it, as Senator Berger said, is available for BTU.
So there must be a boatload of gray houses somewhere that.
They're actually love to take you on a facility tour someday. They can actually do a whole little rainbow of colors.
Okay, okay.
It's pretty impressive.
Thank you very much. Senator, do you have any comments to close with?
Can I get some clarification?
Pardon me? I'm
I
sorry.
wanted-
You would
ju-
like to ask the other gentleman a
Yes.
question? Sir, will you come back?
I want you to look to your left.
Sorry.
To the left, to the
I-
left, to the
I'm
left.
rightward looking.
Yes, Senator.
Hey, so, should I forget what I was getting ready to say? Oh, the fee schedule.
Yeah.
Is that for, like, if I'm trying to drop off paint, I have to pay per?
No, that's the fee that's offered that when someone buys paint. So that's the part of the purchase price that's related to the recycling.
So.
So if you attend like a $50 gallon of paint would have like a 75-cent tack on, or so it'd be 50.75 for a gallon of paint.
Okay. I'm still not understanding. I don't know why I'm not getting clear.
It
So.
would actually be point of sale.
Point of sale.
Point of sale when you buy
what
it.
she's getting at is like if she's got old paint in
It's
her
grandfathered
basement.
in. You can take that right now.
Oh,
If we pass this program, yes.
Oh, it's free for me to drop it
For
off.
the old paint, and
Correct.
moving forward, it's funded with this fee that gets put on the
Correct.
Right.
purchase. of new
When you
paint.
drop it off, it is completely free of charge. That's actually, the program cannot charge anyone when they drop off paint.
Okay.
Old paint is grandfathered in.
And my understanding of the program in St. Louis County is it's for St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and Jefferson County, but there is a fee to drop things off. It's based on weight. Because when you go to
Right.
their website, they have a calculator so you can figure out about how much you would pay to
Right.
drop off stuff. So this would be beneficial to our constituents that have old paint.
That fee would go away. That's
Yeah.
correct with this program.
Yeah.
Yeah. St. Louis residents would no longer pay. They never have to calculate. They would just, whatever they can accept, they can bring it in free of charge.
Great.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you
Thanks for
very
the
much.
help.
Senator?
Information purposes only.
I'm sorry, somebody have information purposes?
Oh, this is the woman that's
The lady from Mark.
Nadja. Yeah.
Good afternoon, member of the committee, chairman. Thank you for having me. My name is Nadja Carpolo, and I work for the Mark Solid Waste Management District in Kansas City, and I am also here on behalf of the Missouri Product Stewardship Council. My board did ask that I testify in this capacity for information only. So leftover paint is a problem. Most of us have some paint in the corner of our garage or our basement, and just don't know where to bring it or have no place to bring it. So infrastructure in the state is very little, and so this program would set up a system to expand the number of collection sites that people can drop off their paint at. So that is a big deal. When you look at that map, only 5 locations have the ability to accept latex and oil-based paint. So the rest of the state is very scarce in terms of they don't accept latex paint, and if they do have any kind of program, you have to make an appointment. It's only open once a month. It's only open during the week. It's just very little services available. So there is a need not being met by the market. And so this program, established by the paint industry, has formed this program to provide collection sites and make it easy for people to conveniently get rid of their material. I just also want to say very quickly that this system also professionalizes the management of these materials. So it's a very professional program, very transparent. Also, that spur economic activity. It would provide jobs, including at MDNR. So the fee and the program that the amount of money that generated from the fee at point of sale would help pay for that staff person at MDNR that just oversees the plan. Also, retailers that opt to collect the material will be providing a community service and also bringing in business to their stores. And it adds value. So when you add value to a material, you can keep that paint out of the landfill, out of the ditches, out of the waterways, this program would provide a responsible and convenient program for all citizens. And let me add, not only for households, which currently the programs that do exist in the state are only for households. This program would also include businesses, contractors, local government, schools, institutions, what have you. So not only does it expand collection site, it expands the audience. So thank you so much for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else for information purposes? Senator Berger, do you have any closing comments?
After we pass this year, the first picture I want is of myself and Senator Bernstetter going somewhere to drop off paint.
Okay.
And him congratulating me on getting this done.
We could do that. That will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 917. Next, we'll do Senate Bill 838. Senator Anderson, you got it.
Senator Cierpiot, please start when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Mike Cierpiot from the 8th Senate District, here to present Senate Bill 838. In 2008, Prop C was passed and amended the law to require investor-owned utilities to generate or purchase electricity from renewable sources like solar, wind, biomass, and hydropower. It also created an item called a Renewable Energy Standard, RES, and that gradually increased requirements for that percentage that comes from renewable. It was at 2% in 2011, it went to 5% in 2014, 10% in 2018, and 15% in 2021, and for every year after. The core purpose of Senate Bill 838 is to revise Missouri's renewable energy policy in two major ways. Broaden the definition of what counts as renewable by including nuclear generation, which would potentially reduce the reliance on wind and solar since nuclear has no carbon footprint. It also will lower the renewable energy mandate from 15% to 7.5% requirement. This would reduce the regulatory obligation on utilities to produce or generate larger shares of renewables. This is important for new generation. This would allow new dispatchable power to be deployed with less concern about meeting renewable standards. We are now in a different environment than we were when we passed this. I plan to add another definition in the committee sub when we vote in a week or two. We passed out a memo about that on your desk in front of you. It's about including battery storage in the definitions, and I think there'll be a witness that comments on that. We're working on language that makes it clear that the reduction from 15 to 7.5 is for going forward, not on the existing power plants that we have today. The reason for that is, just like with the Senate bill last year, we're trying to prepare the foundation for additional energy growth, making it more reliable and more stable. This will still allow any company to put in solar and wind to their heart's desire. It just will remove the mandate for that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Any questions? Senator May.
First of all, so I'm listening to the concept of what you said. So I have a couple of things shifting, so I'm trying to get it straight. So first of all, how is it renewable? Tell me how nuclear is renewable.
I think the way I think about it is because most of the problems with what we consider not renewable today has a carbon footprint. It's usually consuming fossil fuels, releasing CO2 in the atmosphere. That's what's been the big issue for the last few decades, and nuclear does not do that. Nuclear uses radiation or radioactivity and fission by, and so it's, I guess you could argue it's not renewable in that sense, but the point I make and why I think it's, in the coming years, I think renewable is going to take a larger role is because it does not create CO2.
Okay, and so what about no radiation concern?
Well, that's the technology is changing. I mean, we've got it now. Everybody is scared to death of Fukushima and Chernobyl, but they did not happen here. Nuclear energy has a very safe, really, history in America. And going forward, you know, we're talking about small modular nuclear. I actually, in my heart of hearts, think most nuclear questions are 10 years off. This is just laying the groundwork, so someday when it is available, Missouri will be able to receive it. But I think those radiation questions and stuff are all being answered with the technology as it improves and goes forward.
Okay, and so you think that lowering it from 15% to 7% is sustainable? Tell me about that.
Well, the reason I'm doing, the point of that is, so as we've seen the last few months, a couple of IOUs have announced new gas plants for generation, and those are using fossil fuel. They're more efficient than coal as far as CO2 production, but they're using fossil fuel. And the point of this is, as new generation is proposed in the future, they can do it without the concern of having 15%, according to their base load, to have 15% of that being renewable. It reduces that matter. It doesn't change behind us, but it just goes forward. Callaway would not be in that. I'm going to have language when we finally vote this out that Callaway nuclear plant will not be part of that lowering standard.
So does shifting, let me get this right. Does exempting large accelerated renewable buyers, does that shift it onto small businesses?
Yes.
A greater compliance burden.
Senator, could you say that again? I didn't get that.
Okay, let me read it straight up. I put these in here, but. Accelerated renewable buyers. Does exempting large accelerated renewable buyers, does that shift it to smaller businesses?
Where are you reading? Is it in the bill?
Let's see. That's in. I don't know where I read that in.
The bill gives exemptions to large companies.
It's given, the exception. There you go. Thank you, Senator. She said it's given exemptions to larger corporations.
It is giving well, the energy standard only applies to investor-owned utilities, and that's what it's addressing.
Yes, okay. So, yeah, I'm looking at, if you look at page 3, line 52, you know, my question is basically wondering if it's going to, you know, create greater compliance burden on residential and small business
No,
customers.
it won't have any impact, and that's existing language that's in effect today.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Senator Mosley.
So how is this not going to increase the rates on the consumers?
Increase the rate on consumers. I would argue it could actually save consumers money because renewable, in many cases, renewables are wonderful when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, but the utilities have to build backup power for that, not one-to-one, but they have to have backup power so that they have dispatchable power on demand, and that is additional costs. Nuclear and fossil fuel-based power is standalone. It's dispatchable. It's on when it's on, and I would argue that that would make it cheaper for consumers. There's an argument to be made, I think, and I'm sure people here will tell you I'm wrong, but in this push for renewable the last few decades has made much of our grid less stable and more expensive.
So the cost savings that this bill creates is going back to the utility company. Why not go back to the consumer?
Well, the cost savings will be in the future based off of not having to double up on generation. And as far as the cost savings, that will be, the PSC will deal with that, and the rate of return will still be maintained as what it is. And so that cost savings will be shared by everybody. But the PSC will
Who
deal
is
with
everybody?
that.
Is that the people,
It'll be-
consumers, like the residents?
Yes,
Are
it'll
they going to
be-
get these savings? Because my understanding of reading it is not going to go to the consumers. It's going to go to the utility company.
Well, I mean, again, the cost of generation is part of the rate base and something the PSC considers establishing the rates that we pay, and the savings will be part of that consideration.
And how are you justifying that nuclear radiation is safe? Because I know in my area, probably Tracy's as well, we have the issue with Coldwater Creek already.
If I said radiation is safe, I didn't mean that. I mean, what I mean is the technology is moving forward, and it's becoming very reliable. And in America, it's been very safe over the years. I think the radiation you guys are dealing with is from waste.
Government is
Long-term.
is already not taking care of the ones that's already being affected by the past radiation. So that lets me know that people that are affected will possibly be affected by new radiation won't be taken care of as well.
Well, it's an open question.
It's
I
not
think long-term radiation storage is still something that's being looked at and being discussed. Callaway does it today. They've been storing radiation waste. I don't really know where they store it. I guess I could talk to that. But it's an ongoing question that's being dealt with. But nuclear power is here. It's going to grow in the future because I think it's the answer to many of our energy needs.
So how do you feel that's the answer to the engineering needs?
I'm sorry.
How do you feel that's the answer?
The answer?
What makes you feel that it's the answer?
That nuclear power is the answer?
The nuclear, yeah.
Because it's reliable and stable and dispatchable. We have had I think the country is finally getting ready to start deploying it. Like I said, I think it's still a decade away, and a small modular I think is coming. I don't think Missouri should be first doing it, but if we're third or fourth, I think that'd be fine to make sure everything works good. But again, I think in the next 25 years, nuclear is going to be a part of the portfolio as it gets built out. And if you're a person that fears climate change, it's something that I think answers many of those questions.
Any further?
Okay, so who's the main benefit of this bill?
I think your consumers, because if you've been reading lately, the needs of bringing manufacturing back to America, as well as data centers and all the other things, the power requirements are going up substantially. And this is not the answer to all that, but it's part of the answer to that.
So you're trying to convince us that this bill will benefit consumers instead of the utility company?
I think it will benefit consumers, all size consumers, from the residential all the way up to the
It probably
business.
will benefit large companies, as we noted earlier, but it won't benefit residential customers. It won't benefit small businesses. And again, there's a potential rate increase in this, and we just increased the residential consumers rates just last year. Not just once, but twice, because PSC passed a rate increase, and as well as this legislative body did. Not me, because I voted against it. But we just did it last year.
Are you referencing Senate Bill 4?
Whatever bill it was.
Well, I mean, some of those ratings.
You passed. You the one that carried it.
I think that Senate bill had little to do with that, but the cost of everything is going up. If you don't think electricity costs are going up with them,
it had to have something to do with it, because when I asked that question during the committee, one of your witnesses said it was increasing the rate.
When did the rate take
$65
when did the rate take effect?
Per utility? Well, I don't know about your residents, but I know my. Right.
Yeah, they are.
Well, not yet, but we have already. Well, that's a good point. It hasn't kicked in yet, so once it comes, yeah, you're right. PSC's rates went up is what came in last year, and we're waiting on the bills from last year to come in to increase the rates. But then we're now talking about increasing rates another time. And I think we need to give our residents a break on rate increases. People on fixed incomes have an issue with trying to pay their bills as it is, and trying to keep increasing their utilities is a problem.
Okay. Like I said, I agree that modest people with modest incomes, electricity, all the utilities are difficult for them. And if Senate Bill 4 also last year, with Senator McCrory's help, we increased the assistance that these companies give some of these consumer groups too. So, but I would also argue probably 40 years ago, low-income people struggled paying utility bills. I don't think it's something new. I think it's something that's just part of the struggle of low-income people in general. Grocery bills are going up, rent's going up, everything's going up. It seems to be the nature of the world.
Everything's going up with people's income. Okay. Oh, I thought you said something. Okay.
All right.
I'll save some questions for.
Any further questions? Senator McCreary.
So when I take a look at this bill, there's several things that are challenging for me and probably for my caucus, which is this renewable energy standard was passed by the voters. It was Proposition C. It was in 2008, and it passed by 66%. And I just, and it seems to have been working fine. And so I just struggle with, it doesn't even matter what the subject is, the fact that voters approve something with 66% of the vote. And now, you know, less than 20 years later, we're coming back and just saying, well, the voters, you don't really know what you're talking about, so we're going to undo what you put into statute. So that is a problem for me, just, you know, fill in the blank what the topic is, to undo the will of the people, especially when I'm not seeing anything coming from these companies as far as a reason to undo what has been in statute. So any comments on that?
Well, I think we're in a different world than we did now, because actually I remember in 2008 I voted for this law. I wouldn't do that today. I'm not saying I'm typical, but I think the world we live in is different, and the intent here is going forward, because you've been in discussions. There is a lot of electricity needs in the future that's going to have to be built out, and the point of this is like I said, is just to relieve them of that burden. I think most of these utilities will probably still have that, and the PSC, if it makes sense, will allow it. Additional solar, additional wind, because a lot of their big customers coming here want that as their source of power. But again, it's not always, something else has got to be built with it, because it's not always reliable. And
well, I
that's
understand that, but I don't see why, you know, no matter how I twist my mind around it, nuclear is not renewable. It's just not.
Okay.
So I just, from a basic definition standpoint, I don't see how the phrase nuclear power sources can be added to the definition of renewable energy resources. If this was a quiz in school and somebody tried to say that, it would be wrong. So it's just a basic definition issue. So that aside, I don't see why adding nuclear to renewable energy resources allows for us to increase capacity. I don't understand why it has to be in that part of statute in order for there to be increased capacity.
Well, if you look on page, number 5 on 5 is a renewable energy resource definition, and there's some stuff in there that you could probably question besides that, but that's kind of where it is defined, and that's why we put it there. And I will admit that saying nuclear is renewable maybe doesn't fit the definition exactly, but it's to get it into a category that it's something that going forward, like I said, in a few years, I think we're doing a lot of groundwork now to to get us ready for the
But
future.
the
I
work
guess.
we did last year on Senate Bill 4 as it relates to
Yes.
our IRPs and everything else, the conversation was always about being energy source neutral. I just don't see why you're trying to force something round into a square hole. I just don't, I'm just being honest. I don't see the need for that.
I can appreciate that. And let me just say too, Senator, that this is just the first start. As we have this hearing and then people will come and talk to you and me, we'll probably talk about some of these things going forward.
Well, I would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is, if you just think about, numerically think about what you're trying to do. You've got a whole bunch of things that are considered renewable energy resources. And right now, at this date and time, it can be up to 15%. But you're adding something else to that. So the logical thing would be that percent would go up because you're adding something else to that portfolio. But instead, you're cutting it back in half. And so that also just doesn't make any sense to me. If you're adding something to the toolbox and
Right.
giving these companies more tools, why you wouldn't expand that percent?
Right. And that's why I said Callaway will not apply, because Callaway would probably take care of Ameren's 15% responsibility immediately, and we're not going to do that. So,
Okay.
but I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying I totally disagree with you.
All right, and then you mentioned that there were a couple companies struggling because of that 15%, and they're building gas plants to generate electricity.
No, I didn't. No, I don't think that 15% played into that. I'm just saying that there are going to be more gas turbines deployed to meet our growing needs, and lowering this number means that they can do that without adding additional renewables if they don't want to, or if that's not affordable or cost efficient.
Okay, so are there companies that are getting close to not being able to meet what's in statute right now?
That I can't say.
Ameren and Evergy, I guess, are here?
They have not told me that at all.
Okay. Because, if this is about trying to rig a percentage so that companies can build more gas-fired plants, then we should just say what it is,
Right, right.
We shouldn't
No.
be messing around with that.
They have not come to me. In fact, I think they'll probably say that's not a problem.
Okay, I'm in fact-finding right now,
Sure.
just trying to understand what we're getting at with this. So, okay, thank you.
Senator May.
Is there any way, Senator, to do it without, adding it to this definition? I mean, since you're saying this is a future thing and that nuclear is coming on, why can't it be independent statutorily from the renewable energy statute?
And what would you come up with a new definition, you mean?
I mean, some other category, because just like, we were talking about, like I said, it's not renewable. So, just the category in itself, just bringing it, online for future use and creating, what it could be used for. Instead of, it
forcing it
can
in
be
here?
an alternative.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to start with anybody any other comments you have, Senator?
No, I've said a lot.
You may have. Okay, anybody to testify in support, please come forward. Make sure you have your sheet for testimony filled out.
Good morning, members. Afternoon, long day. Members of the committee, my name is James Owen. I am the executive director of Renew Missouri. We are not only a group that advocates for clean energy policy, renewable energy, and energy efficiency, but we are also the group that helped spearhead the Renewable Energy Standard Ballot Initiative back in 2008. And to the extent that we initially were opposed to this legislation as it was originally filed, we do believe that with the addition to adding battery storage to the Renewable Energy Standard, we do want to offer to the committee and to the Senate that we do see that there is benefit to that, because we are in a different world. Battery storage, as we know it, as far as it is able to be coupled with any other kind of generation. And it's not just renewable energy. It can be coupled with gas, hydro, whatever. And I believe that if there's a concern about whether or not renewable energy can meet the needs of the future, I believe battery storage is the one to address it. If we are going to open up this legislation to new definitions, we are not going to sit here and support nuclear necessarily. We are not an anti-nuclear group. But we're not going to sit here and necessarily support that position, nor are we going to necessarily support the halving of the percentages. But we do believe that there could be a conversation about that. But I do think that in addition to the battery storage component being important, we would like for that to be considered. We would also like to be considered because we do think in this modern world where we are going to start seeing more strain on the grid, that we would like to see energy efficiency be added to this definition as well. Right now, energy efficiency is one of the best ways to resolve the issue of having to build more generation. It does decrease the amount of stress that we put on the grid. And currently, we have some hostility at the Public Service Commission in regards to energy efficiency programs offered by the Public Service Commission. We believe that there's more incentive offered for energy efficiency programs by including it in the renewable energy standard. We could see that as being a benefit as well. So while we have concerns about this legislation, we do like the idea of being able to modify this and modernize this standard. And we would ask for the committee to have that conversation, and we'd very much ask to be a part of it. And so if we can answer any questions about that, we'd be happy to do so.
I have one question. Would you explain what you mean by energy efficiency? And you're talking about the PSC, so could you expound on that, please?
So there is a statute in place called the Missouri Energy Efficiency Investment Act, which basically means that if you're an investor-owned utility like Ameren, Evergy, Liberty Empire, if you put forward programs, voluntary programs that will help reduce the demand for power. Well, we're not talking about turning on and off light switches or turning off the TV when you leave a room. We're talking about the mechanisms that are in place to actually help reduce your demand for power. New rebates for air conditioners and that sort of thing. We believe that does do a lot of good. And that's one of those areas where Renew Missouri, while we don't always see eye to eye with the utility companies, we do agree with them in trying to offer their customers opportunities to reduce their consumption. And the Public Service Commission has taken issue. I believe they have concerns about the cost of those programs. They have concerns about about some of the bureaucratic measures of those programs. And while those are things that can be fixed during the PSC process, the litigation process of that, we would like to see there be some more incentivizing of energy efficiency programs from the legislature.
So you're talking about, like I've seen that with the air conditioner, if there's so many SEER, you get a discount. Also, you're talking about, I think some of these have come in and say, I think it's probably passed now, but they were doing the energy efficient light bulbs in some homes there at one time.
That is part of those programs as well. I mean, those are smaller. I mean,
But that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next person in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the committee and the testimony. My name is John Dolan. I'm Executive Director of the Missouri Solar Energy Industry Association, and I'm feeling a little bashful about our work on last year, begging off on Senate Bill 4, and we're here to testify in favor today. We appreciate both caucuses, and their work on this issue. If I could address some of those issues and why we stand in support, I would say that we repeat and agree with some of the things that James Owen just said. We also are leaning into all sizes of solar energy systems and serving the providers and customers we engage. We also leaned into the IRP section of SB4, which didn't get as much attention as QUIP. And when I served in this legislature, saw the first versions of that and was on that side of consumers. But I want to work with everyone, and we've been so welcomed at the commission to a process that is just starting and will take years, and we want to be a part of it. We think that the changes here are minor enough to support them, and with the inclusion of the battery energy storage systems, that the aggregate will take care of it, that it's not as impactful. And I think, if I may just say, from a layperson or not an engineer, I think we're saying that nuclear is clean, not renewable, and the terms are almost interchangeable, so we're forgiving any dalliance on that, and the lawyers can figure it out before the truly agreed finally passed. Some would argue clean, but I think having Weldon Spring in my old Senate seat, Senator, your comments are well taken about the creek and the issues that we dealt with, but that's wholly separate from the fine disposal of any waste that comes and the safe operation of the Callaway nuclear plant. So we're all safe there. So that's kind of where I find myself on the supportive side today. And one of the reasons we support that is to support the chairman in efforts like this to include all willing generators. I'm the cleanest, the cheapest, and with battery energy storage, going to be a reliable choice while you're waiting for your gas turbines and your nuke plants. And that's why we got like gigs of solar being installed by our IOUs. The only thing I ask is that we allow independent people, even if the IOUs buy it later, my members, to develop these plants as well. And we're scared a little bit about what might happen in the IRP process to only just say, yep, it's just for those two big IOUs, not even the other, or all three of those, when they come to us with lawyers and rate cases. We need all consumers and all generators to be at the table. So we offer this testimony today. I had a lot of fun stuff there in it. I just would say that I hope the committee recognizes that we did not stand in the way last year of the things we needed to do after years of heartbreak and gridlock, and that as this session progresses, we realize and entertain some great solar information. So let me play a few innings on some hits and runs getting on the scoreboard maybe, and that we have balanced legislation, not using the words moratoriums or misinformation too often, which I know that's coming. So I'll stop with the baseball analogies and just say that I want to be a partner in Missouri's victory and the chairman's on energy dominance. That includes SMRs. That's why this is being done. I know you'll all work it out, but today, like James, we may have not been so Sierra Club. We have been just good, balanced generators supporting the chairman's initiative here on RES.
Are you going to be around next week?
I'll be around every week and anywhere you tell me to be. And
Question.
yes, I think we have scheduled something neat for next week. If there's enough room in the room, we'll just reinvent Callaway through Henry County now. And
What-
that saga will continue on what solar is or is not. So, yes,
Questions for the
I will
witness,
be here.
Senator Mosley.
I will be here.
So how do you guarantee it's going to be safe?
Oh, that safety argument, I just want to say respectfully, I certainly appreciate, and I learned a lot about the creek because I was focusing on the remedial action project when I was a House and Senate member. What I understand from people in the business and my knowledge of nuclear power and being next to a neighbor and working with folks that work there, and America's history in this, as it also is France, is that Callaway, for instance, is exceedingly safe, not a Fukushima, not a Chernobyl, and that America's done it better. And I'll believe it when I see another nuke plant. We haven't done them. But I think every meta and every data center that shows up better have a water solution, and he's either going to have an SMR in one hand and a gigawatt of solar or 500 megawatts in the other, because that's how the kind of power you're going to need. We're coming up on a huge burden. So I see what the chairman's doing last year and this year, and I try to bring my members to the table for our tiny piece, 2 to 10%, 2% of the pie. And I think in the aggregate, we're going to have more. So to answer your safety question, I had to go through a nuke waste dump in my district, and I learned all about the safety side of low grade, high grade, Fukushima, Chernobyl, yin and yang. And the right information would be that there's no radiation coming out of there, and there's no inappropriate waste that I'm aware of, and America does it better. So I applaud Ameren for that project, and I see it regularly.
So what district is this?
A little different. They dumped all that stuff in your creek, is what I'm saying. It wasn't Ameren. It was.
What district are you in?
I was the Schroer, then it was Onder, then it was Roop, and before that it was me. And that was West St. Charles, Weldon Spring Remedial Action Progress, the largest low-grade radioactive waste entombment in the country, and not the horror story that Hanford, Washington was.
No, he said that.
So that was tough.
The nuclear was-
From the media to everything, it was a lot of information flying, so I'm just trying to be helpful, not disagree, but just say that I think we're safe there on that particular nuclear project. We weren't safe in World War II when they dumped it in your creek. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions? Senator May.
Yeah, my quick question. So, don't you think that this nuclear can have a place of its own?
Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant idea. I was worried about talking to my members on our member call about a week ago when I had to release this, and then James had called with the great work that Renew Missouri and its lobbyists did to talk about the importance. And I was actually giving a presentation at a Renewable Energy Plus Midwest. And somebody had a question at the end of the presentation. And they said, well, what do you think about BESS in Missouri? And I said, what's that? Because I'm not perfect and I don't know everything. But I got the acronym all over my testimony. Battery energy storage systems. And it makes us reliable. And it's been put in every solar farm everywhere now. And you can dispatch that power. So we're going to be a big answer. And we're just hoping for a home and a chance at the commission, and God knows I'll be lobbying the heck out of JCAR if we don't get what we need. Because we need rules that are fair and bring us to the table. But we're very, very impressed with what the chairman and the IOUs have done to set the table for Missouri's generation needs, notwithstanding the awesome work that a certain senator and Mr. Kaufman and everybody in between does on consumer rights. I've seen that. I get it. But by God, we finally got a bill. And now we got this tidy little thing. I think it needed to fit in the percentages, and in the aggregate, we will generate more. This will be irrelevant, and your new definitions are welcome. Sorry to go, wow. Wasn't thinking that on this little tiny testimony. No, I used to filibuster my own bills. Won't do that here.
You're getting close.
I know, yeah.
Any other questions for this witness?
Thank
Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else to testify in support? Okay. Oh, here we have one more.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mark Figgenbaum with Missouri Farm Bureau, and we believe that with the unforeseen increase in energy demand that changes to the renewable energy standard are very merited, and we're also supportive of increasing dispatchable sources like nuclear, and with that I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else to testify in support?
Good afternoon. Matthew Smith with Associated Industries of Missouri, going on record in support of this bill. We support this bill specifically for its inclusion of nuclear into the definition of renewable energy in Chapter 393. Our industries, when we look at energy issues, are very interested and concerned with the reliability of electricity in Missouri. It is essential that Missouri has a reliable grid, and nuclear energy provides that assurance. Including nuclear into the definition will ensure we continue to invest in nuclear, which in return will help keep Missouri's grid strong and secure. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else to testify in support? Going once, going twice. Anybody to testify in opposition?
John, do you have your phone? Is it on mic? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is John Kaufman. I am here on behalf of the Consumers Council of Missouri. We care about the affordability of utility rates, and so I just want to start off saying that we're not here to get involved in the issue of what's renewable or not, as far as environmental or safety concerns. Our focus is almost exclusively on the affordability of utility rates, and we have a lot of concern about what this bill does. I'm not going to say that the sponsor is wrong, but I do believe that this legislation would tend to increase electric rates, and it's because of something that's included in the law that no one's even mentioned here yet, and that's something called the RESRAM, R-E-S-R-A-M, the Renewable Energy Standard Rate Adjustment Mechanism. We just call it the RESRAM, because we deal with all these acronyms. But it is a single issue surcharge on the bills, and it was included in the original vote in 2008, and so we have not opposed it because we like to respect the voters. And I would say the first thing here is I think that if you believe that things are changed and you think that voters would think differently today, you should ask them. You should merely respect the voters and say, have things changed, put it back on the ballot and let the public do it instead of just overturning their will, especially when something that passed with this margin. And I remember very well the drafting of the proposition in 2008 and the campaigns and the discussion about it, and the fact that nuclear power was excluded from the RES was just top of mind. It was right there on the ballot. Everyone knew when they were voting that they were not voting for nuclear power to be in the renewable energy standard. I'm not against nuclear power. I'm not here to testify against it. I think nuclear power might be an important part of the portfolio going forward. I think a diverse type of, every type of resource, it makes a utility stronger. Just like a diverse, investment portfolio, you need a lot of different kinds of things because you just don't know what's going to happen to anyone. And I think that we are often harmed by this idea that there's some silver bullet, that there's one type of generation, whether it's solar, wind, or nuclear, that's the answer, because I think that economically speaking, you want a mix. But that being said, the RESRAM, it's capped at 1% right now. And, but I'm not aware of any utility that has reached that cap yet. If you include nuclear power in there, that surcharge will definitely go up to the 1% cap. And so it will increase rates that way. But just as what happened with Senate Bill 4, when the QUIP law, which was also passed by the voters by a 2-to-1 margin, was overturned, I would just ask that, I guess, initially that you think about putting this back to the voters. Put together what you think it should be, but respect the voters. This thing that I handed out is from the Washington Post. This shows what happened last year on electric rates. Has nothing to do with Senate Bill 4. This is how fast rates are going up in Missouri even before the $1,115 price tag of Senate Bill 4 hits. Now, and that's before what we know is going to be a building cycle. I agree that there will be a need to build some new power plants. And that's why I think it's really important that we focus on the affordability. Electric rates, among the things that I think voters are concerned about as far as affordability, groceries, housing, and utilities, utilities is the one that's going up the fastest. And it's the one thing in that affordability package that government has the most levers for. Government has very few levers to control grocery prices, but basically, government decides how much these monopoly investor-owned utilities make. That's what the rate of return is. And so, if you really want to address affordability, which is top of the mind, I think, for this election year, you should focus on utilities. That will help bring the overall inflation rate of our state down. And I think that we can build new generation, and we can build a diverse portfolio, including nuclear, without the extras. We're just here saying, don't just pile on. Make sure that you look at all these things in a holistic way through the integrated resource planning process. Make sure that it's the most cost-efficient way to go. But when you have these surcharges, like the RESRAM, and unfortunately, the MIA charge for energy efficiency, we don't like that either. We don't like QUIP. All these things are just nickel and diming people, and they're extras that are not necessarily needed. The Callaway nuclear power plant was built almost completely without QUIP and completely without any other surcharge like this. And it's a very economic plant. And so we would just ask that you be careful, knowing that there's going to be new power plants coming, and not add to the mix. That's my testimony.
Questions for the witness? Seeing none. Oh, Senator McCreary.
Thanks. So can you, in layperson's terms, explain that RESRAM, and so once a cap is hit of that renewable energy standard, then 1% gets added to our bill somehow? Or?
No, it's the law, which was passed by the voters, says that you can have this surcharge. Public Service Commission created the RESRAM to do that. And some electric utilities have it and some don't. And I don't have the numbers about exactly where they are, but I don't think any of them have yet reached the cap yet.
Okay.
But because the solar and wind itself isn't necessarily enough to increase it. But some of those costs get passed through and go up even outside of a rate case. So they're just added onto the bill. Nuclear power plants are so expensive, generally that will definitely drive the cost up. And so I would expect that if this law passed, the RESRAM would go up to 1%. So I don't know how much that would be, maybe a 0.5% increase in electric rates.
Okay,
as
thank
a result. But then you also have the fuel adjustment clause, nuclear fuel in it. That's another kind of outside a rate case way that rates go up. And of course, QUIP, which if for a traditional nuclear power plant like what we've seen in Georgia, it would be about $500 per household per year in advance of the power plant being built. That's the real big one.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else to testify against?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C., AC DNOF, State Public Advocate. First of all, I really think that this committee needs to dive deep, and I would ask that you hold some type of fact-finding hearing with research that possibly is being done from the University of Missouri School of Engineering and Technology campus in Rolla. I think we should ask some experts in the field to get some hard facts on this issue. I'd like to hear from the professionals that we have, including engineers from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. And I'd also like to hear from experts at our Missouri Public Service Commission, in addition to the Public Ratepayer Council, which is an attorney that works on behalf of customers at the Missouri Public Service Commission. You know, I hear all these acronyms thrown around, all these things about we're going to save this, we're going to save that. I'm not sure how this bill came about to the sponsor, if he dreamed it on his own, or if a lobbyist came to his office, or it was Ameren UE, or Kansas City Light and Power, or I can go on with the companies across Missouri. But I'll tell you what, I believe in how Missourians voted in 2008. I would hope that you adhere to our decision. It's a really bad deal for Missourians, and I feel bad for Missourians that are in a Ameren UE or a Kansas City Light and Power situation. If you're in a co-op, I think you're going to be okay. But if you're in one of the conglomerates, it's all about money, 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 bonuses, bonuses, bonuses. Guess what? Look on the public websites of the federal disclosures and the state disclosures of all the officers at Ameren UE, Kansas City Light and Power, and I can go on of other power companies throughout Missouri. They're not making $100,000 or $200,000. They're making millions in bonuses and stock options and pensions, and I could go on and on. Forget about the people. Forget about our 6.2 million Missourians. We don't care if you pay higher rates. It's about making profits for the people up the big offices, the people at the big mahogany tables with the glass windows and the security force. And so I have to highly disagree with this bill, SB838, and I can't support it. And I would ask that you do a fact-finding mission of this committee to get some experts in here, and let's dive down and get some real facts. Thank you.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody else to testify against? Seeing none. Anybody for informational purposes only? Please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Zach Monroe on behalf of Ameren, Missouri, here for informational purposes only. Just want to convey two pieces of information to the committee, which is Ameren, Missouri already meets the 15% renewable energy standard required by law now with our existing infrastructure, and that there is a portion of the bill that talks about renewable energy credits. Currently, nuclear is not factored into that marketplace for renewable energy credits, so we've suggested language to the chair and the sponsor that would establish a nuclear energy credit at such time when it would, for new projects going forward, so that if a marketplace was ever created for nuclear energy credits, that would be established in the bill and not confuse the two. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Senator McCreary.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Zach. So you said Ameren already meets that 15% renewable energy standard. If a bill like this were to go into effect and now all of a sudden it's down, the requirement is 7.5%, what do you think your company would do?
It would have no material impact, I would suggest.
Because you're doing what the customers want and what's part of your long-term planning and things like that?
We would offer up that a clarifying language, I believe Senator said that there was language coming to clarify the forward-looking date on it, but that any of the qualifiers for nuclear were forward-looking. Otherwise, adding Callaway into it would put us up in the 40%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would skew the numbers dramatically. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Anybody else for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, you have anything?
No, I do not, but thank you for hearing my bill.
Are we done at this point?
Uh-huh.
We're done? Okay, the Committee on Commerce and Utilities is adjourned.
Unless you want to exec this bill. That's your thing, thanks, John. You may be a saving grace in this whole fucking bill.
You're welcome.